Hi friends, this is Miss Kristi from the library and I am really excited to be with you today. I have some really cool books I'm going to show you. They are really super old books and we'll talk about those in a little while. I'm so excited. But really I'm excited because this time of year is our holiday season, right? And we get to be with our families. We get to perhaps do things that we ordinarily wouldn't be doing because we get so busy with school or with just work and those kinds of things. And this time of year is really fun because, at least for me and my family, my girls don't have school right now. They're out on their holiday break. And then, we just don't have to work quite as much. We have a few holidays, so it's pretty fun to spend time together. But before we get started, I wanted to start with peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. So I have to put my knees up. Get your knees ready. We're going to be doing some pat clapping. Can you do it with me? Like this? And we're going to say hello. And at first we're going to say, that was my cat. Sorry about that if it gets jiggly. We're going to say hello as fast and as slow as we can. So first we're going to say peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say hello as fast as we can. Hello. Can you do it? Hello. Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say hello as slow as we can. Hello. Did you try it? Hello. I always think that's funny. Okay. Next time we're going to say as high and as low. So you're going to make your voice go super high or super low. Are you ready? Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say hello as high as we can. Hello! Hello! Okay, and now we're going to make our voices go really low. Ready? Can you practice? How low can you go? Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say hello as low as we can. Hello. Hello. Wow, can you go even lower? Hello. Okay. Let's see. Let's say hello as soft and quiet or as loud as we can. Ready? Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say hello as quiet as we can. Did you even hear me? I was whispering, wasn't I? Okay, and now might be kind of loud. If you're sensitive to sound, you might want to plug your ears. Ready? Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say hello as loud as we can. Hello! Oh, that was so loud. I'm only going to do it once. You can practice that at home if you want to. But make sure people are sensitive to sound, that you just are real careful about that. Okay, so a couple things. I wanted to share with you some books. A couple weeks ago, I was able to be with my husband's parents, and they collect books. Now, if you like books, you might have your own personal library. But my husband's parents, they really collect books. About 30,000 books they have in their house. It's a lot. But one of the books they shared with me, I'm so excited to share with you, is a book that is a compilation of magazines that were printed and published back in 1918. Now, what's this year? Do you know? It's 2020, right? 2020? We say that, 2020. Well, this was published in 1918. So that was 102 years ago. This was published. And this book was just a compilation of magazines. Now, I don't know if you get magazines. My girls get magazines. They get magazines like Chirp. They get magazines like the Highlights magazine. They get the National Geographic Kids. Do you get magazines? It's kind of fun. My girls really like to get mail in the mailbox. And so when we get our magazines, it's a big day at our house because they really do like getting their magazines. So you'll notice these magazines are pretty bright colored, right? You have bright colors and they're pretty font. So we do some pretty cool things. Well, these magazines are put together on the computer, right? So we can do a lot of really cool things with the computer and technology. But back in 1918, guess what? They didn't have computers like that. They didn't. So when they were going to make a picture, for example, we just can create some things on the computer with graphics and with clip art and some art. Art is still an art, still beautiful, but it's a different kind, right? So we have things on the computer where these magazines that were printed in 1918 they had to do the carvings. They did what they call wood carvings. So they would have artists that would create the picture and they would etch it out on a piece of wood. And then they would put the ink on and then run the paper across and it would print that picture onto the paper. Very different, very hard compared to what we have today. So this is, first of all, this is the book that is the compilation. They took magazines, portions of the magazines, and they put them together in a publication like this. But you'll notice, first of all, probably, let me move this so you can see the picture. You will notice the pictures are not in color. Look, they're just black and white. Can you see? I'm going to pull it real close so you can see that. Now this is a poem that was published in this book, in the magazine. And see how it has trees on this side. Here's a tree, and here's some mountains, and there's a bird. Okay, so all of this picture, it's beautiful. Is this a wolf right there? Maybe there's a wolf right there. So it's beautiful, but it's all black and white. Okay, this is this magazine, it was called St. Nicholas Magazine. And what would happen is they would publish a lot of different things. They had articles, they had stories, people would write longer stories, they would write poetry. Sometimes people would write in to the magazine and ask questions. Like they might ask a question about a sand dollar, for example, that they found on the beach. And they didn't know what it was. So they would write in and they would maybe draw a picture and send it in. And they would ask about a sand dollar. Or maybe they saw a really pretty bird and they wanted to know, is this a chickadee? I'm not sure if it's a chickadee. Because you know what? They didn't have the internet. So when we want to find out information, we go to the internet and we just look it up. Is this a chickadee? What does a chickadee look like? Or what is a sand dollar? What kind of, is this a sand dollar? We can look it up online. They couldn't do that in 1918. So they would just write into the magazine and they could get responses. They would print the responses back in the magazine. It's kind of cool. But I wanted to read this poem. It's called Winter in the Sierras. Now the Sierras, you'll see, like I showed you, these are mountains. Those are the Sierra Mountains. Okay, and so this is a poem called, it's by Mary Austin, Winter in the Sierras. The pines are black on Sierra's slope, and white are the drifted snows. We've got some snow outside, don't we? Isn't that fun? The flowers are gone, the buckthorn bare, and chilly the north wind blows. The pine boughs creak, and the pine trees speak a language the north wind knows. There's never a track leads in or out of the cave of the big brown bear. The squirrels have hid in their deepest holes and fastened the doors with care. Now what do they do in the wintertime? Is that called hibernation? They hibernate, don't they? So they go into their little caves or they go into underground and they hibernate. Fasten the doors with care. The red fox prowls and the lean wolf howls as he hunts far down from the lair. The eagle hangs on the wing all day on the chance of a single kill. The little gray hawk hunts far and wide before he can get his fill. The snow wreaths sift and the blown snows drift to the canyons deep and still. Have you looked in the canyon recently? We have canyons here, don't we, in Los Alamos? And so they're talking about very, very similar things to what we have here in our town. And so sometimes, we might see those eagles that are flying around, or we might be able to see a squirrel around in our areas. But this is a poem that was written about something very similar to what we have in our town, huh? All right, another one I want to share with you is called, basically it's an article, which is kind of like, it's not fiction, it's not made up, it's nonfiction, which means that it's a true story or a true piece of writing. Another word for that is prose. But it's called Real Fairylands. Now, that's kind of funny, huh? So you think about fairylands. Are fairies real? Maybe. So this is called Real Fairylands, and it's comparing fairylands to what we see outside. So if you have a chance, you might have more time recently and during the holiday season, to go for a walk outside. And I want you to pay attention to what you see. Because sometimes I think where we live is kind of like a fairyland. It's so beautiful. So here it's talking about real fairylands. It says, if fairylands would only come true, and we could see the interesting, wonderful places and people, what a pleasure it would be. Tell us the way to fairyland, and we will go at once. All would gladly exclaim. Some nature stories are as interesting and wonderful as fairy tales, and the best of it is they are honest, truly black and bluely, really, truly so. The famous naturalist, Sir John Lubbock, says, "The world we live in is a fairyland of exquisite beauty. And yet, few of us enjoy as we might the beauties and wonders which surround us. The love of nature brightens life until it becomes almost like a fairy tale." If you like to be outside, you know that feeling, don't you? About just how wonderful it is and how beautiful it is to be outside. Many of our young naturalists, and he's talking about the readers, right? So he's talking just directly to the readers. Many of our young naturalists are in or at the borders of this fairyland. I am sure of it. And if they were asked how they arrived there, they would answer, "Because we want to know. Let us keep on traveling by that path." Now I want you to think about who you are. Are you the kind of person that just really wants to know? Are you curious? I'm curious. I want to teach you that word too. Yeah, as you know, if you've watched my story times before, I was a teacher of the deaf, right? And so I know some sign language, and I love this sign. It's the sign for curious. Are you ready? All right, you take your fingers like you're going to pinch, and you put it right here on your throat. Now, don't pinch too hard. You don't want to hurt yourself, but you just kind of wiggle it around. Curious. Curious. Yeah. In this magazine, St. Nicholas Magazine, they really believed that kids were curious, and they wanted to give them true information. And that was what that little story, or that not a story, it was an article about the fairylands, real fairylands. That's what that was all about, because they realized that kids are curious and they wanted to give them true information. And so maybe over the holiday season, if you have a chance to, maybe you can get outside and go see our fairyland here in Los Alamos. All right, a couple of other things I want to show you. While I was looking at old books, I happened to find a book that was my mom's. Yeah. Well, I'm getting kind of old, and my mama was old too. She's not with us anymore. But she had a book that was given to her by her grandmother. I'm not sure, her grandmother, I think. This was published in 1900. And it's a color cover. I'm going to have you look at that. Do you see that? It's called Mother Goose Nursery Rhymes, and it was published in 1900. Isn't that fun? I can't believe it actually lasted. These books that are so old, I just think what a gift that they have been able to last through all of that time. Now, my mom was not born in 1900, so she got it from, I think, from her grandmother. But she has saved this. She saved it from me, and then I got to have it when she died. She gave it to me. No, she left it for me. But it's called Mother Goose Nursery Rhymes, and you'll notice the pages, they're brown pages, and it's a pretty beat up book. It's been around for kind of a while, and you can even see the cover. Look how that is. Now, if that was at the library, we might not even keep it around, because this has just been pretty beat up right through there, but I sure do love it, and I sure think it's pretty amazing. And I like to think of my mom around this time of year, because it's the holiday season, and I miss her. But when I read this book, and I know it was hers, I even know because it says her name in the front. Her name was Betty. Let me show you. She even wrote her name in the front of this. Right there, Betty. So, anyway, so here we go. This is a book of nursery rhymes, and the first one is called Humpty Dumpty. No way. Do you know that? Do you know Humpty Dumpty too? Well, guess what? Humpty Dumpty was around way back in 1900. Humpty Dumpty, let's start again. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. 80 men and 80 more cannot place Humpty Dumpty as he was before. No, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. That's not how I learned the story or this nursery rhyme. 3 score men and 3 score more. I didn't learn it that way. This is old language. The language changes. Now here, I have this one that my daughters actually have. It's a very similar book. Look, Mother Goose Nursery Rhymes. But look at this. Wow. Now that's a color picture. Isn't it beautiful? Look at that. But in this one, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. That was the same. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. That's the same. This one says, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. And that's how I learned that, right? That's probably how you learned it too, because, you know, it's kind of a newer version. But it doesn't say anything about 3 score. What is that, 3 score? Well, I looked it up. Score means 20. So 3 score is 3 times 20. Now, if you're good at math, you might know that 3 times 20 is 60. But 3 score men and 3 score more, 120 men, cannot place Humpty as he was before. I want to show you this picture. You can compare it to the other one, right? And here's this picture right there. Now look at that. There's the picture. Now somebody had to carve that picture for them to put that in there because they didn't have computers like we do, right? So there we go. So kind of a cool picture there too. But as we compare it, it's also an egg. And we also usually put Humpty Dumpty as an egg. Then compare that picture there. Isn't that fun? All right, so I was looking through the book and I was trying to find some other ones that we might actually have too. Let me look and see. I think I may have lost my place for a minute. Let me look. Here we go. This one is called Hickory Dickory Dock. Have you heard that one before too? Oh, Hickory Dickory Dock? Yeah. Hickory Dickory Dock. The mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1. The mouse ran down. Hickory Dickory Dock. I'll show you the picture here too. Look. Here we have our clock. Here we have our mouse. Yeah. I do notice that clock does not say the clock struck 1. It's not 1 o'clock on the clock though, huh? Not funny? That's okay. Hickory Dickory Dock. The mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1. The mouse ran down. Hickory Dickory Dock. Now, here also is this one. There we have that clock. Very similar to the one we have in my daughter's book. It's in color. Doesn't quite look as the same, does it? That's okay. But it's the same nursery rhyme. These nursery rhymes have been passed down from generation to generation to generation. Now here's another sign I want to teach you. If something is passed down, right? Like something it has come from a prior generation and is now being given to the current generation, there's a sign for that. And it's one sign for that whole explanation of things being passed down from before, moving forward to the future. Okay, so you put your hands together. It's like you're holding something, like you're holding something in your hand. And you start back here, and it's like you're going to bring it forward, forward, forward to give it to somebody. So if something has been passed down, like this book was passed down from my mom down to me, from her grandmother to her mother to her to me, right? So it's put your hands together, and we move it forward, because that's how something is passed down from generation to generation. Isn't that kind of fun? Now there were an awful lot in here, an awful lot of nursery rhymes from the 1900 book that I had never heard. Yeah, so let me see. Okay. Oh, wait. Yeah. There was a king. There was a king met a king in a narrow lane. Says this king to that king, where have you been? Oh, I've been a-hunting with my dog and my doe. Pray lend him to me, that I may do so. There's the dog, take the dog. What's the dog's name? I've told you already. Pray tell me again. Doesn't really make sense. You kind of have to back up a little bit. There was a king, met a king in a narrow lane. So they were walking next to each other. Let me show you that picture. Okay. Two kings. And they're going hunting. One had just been hunting. So this king to that king. Would be nice if we had names, huh? Where have you been? Oh, I've been a-hunting with my dog and my doe. Pray lend him to me, says the other king. He wants to borrow the dog so that the dog can help him go hunting. Pray lend him to me. Pray actually doesn't mean like pray to somebody. It means please. Pray lend him to me that I may do so. There's the dog. Take the dog. The other one says, well, what's his name? I've told you already. Pray tell me again. I don't know. Kind of interesting. I think language was different back then. And I think the way they told stories was different back then. But that's okay. Things do change over time, don't they? And things will be different for our kids and their kids down the road. And you know what we're going to do? We will take the things that we have now and we will pass them down to others, won't we? And what a gift that is. So this year, as we're together with our families, pay attention to that stuff. Pay attention to your family. See what it is that you can hear from them. Maybe you can, if you can't be with your family face to face, maybe you're going to have Zoom conversations or FaceTime conversations with them. Ask the questions. If you're curious about something, ask the questions. Learn something new from your family too. Because maybe they'll have something to pass on to you. All right, ready? Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. We're going to say goodbye. Ready? Get your knees. Ready? Pat, clap. Pat, clap. Get that rhythm. Ready? Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say goodbye as fast as we can. Goodbye. Goodbye. Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say goodbye as slow as we can. Goodbye. Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say goodbye as high as we can. Goodbye. And here we're going to go low. Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say goodbye as low as we can. Goodbye. Goodbye. Okay, now we're going to go quiet and loud. Ready? Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say goodbye as quiet as we can. Goodbye. We're whispering, aren't we? Peanut. Close your ears if you're sensitive to sound, okay, because it's going to be loud. Peanut butter, marmalade, and jam. Let's say goodbye as loud as we can. Goodbye! Goodbye, friends.